Today on Food Outside the Lines, we're going to reverse sear a tri-tip on the big green egg and top it off with a delicious chimichurri sauce. All right, YouTube, welcome to our channel. Today we're going to go over how to cook a tri-tip. So tri-tip is one of my favorite meats. I found it in California is where I discovered it living in Lompoc. And it's amazing there. I'm not going to cook it Santa Maria style, but we're going to smoke it and reverse sear it. So,
and what does it mean when you reverse sear? Reverse sear.
So we're going to smoke it on the smoker at low, about 225, 250, and then take it off and then crank it up to about 500. And I'll actually use a cast iron and I'll sear it on both sides till it gets to about 130 degrees internal temperature. The tri-tip, it does have two different grain patterns. So I always recommend you look at it before you actually season it and sear it because it's a little bit hard to tell that grain where it goes. So what I'm going to do is, it's very easy to prep. I'm going to show you how we season it, and then we'll get it on the smoker and leave it on there probably about an hour and 10 minutes, and then we'll take it off and do the sear. So let's get started.
Okay, and when you're buying this, are you looking for any kind of marbling in particular?
Well, so here's the thing. Not really. This is a Costco Prime, and I'm glad you brought that up. I tried this last week, and Costco didn't have the Prime. So I went to the store and got their choice, another grocery store here, and there was a big difference in the quality. So I never really used choice, and really between the grocery store choice and the Costco Prime was $1.
Oh,
so I would
wow.
definitely say spend the extra dollar a pound and get the Prime. I believe Costco does have choice sometimes, and it's like $3 or $4, so that's a little bit more of a savings, but if you can swing it, definitely get the Prime. Because it does have all these fats in here, and these will kind of, melt a little bit as it cooks. So I definitely say Prime on this one if you can swing it.
Okay, quality ingredients, quality product, right?
All right, for this tri-tip, we're just going to do an olive oil base, and then I kind of have a general purpose salt, pepper, and garlic rub. I did put some onion powder in here, a little bit of cayenne, a little bit of oregano. So
okay.
Just your basic rub. A regular all-purpose or SPG work great. This is a cutting board, but I'm going to just cut this little piece off. Costco does a really good job at trimming their meat. So if you got someplace else there's some really hard fat on the outside, make sure you trim that off because it won't break down in the cooking process. And like I said, here's the grain, so we'll end up kind of cutting it against the grain this way when we pull it off, and then of course we'll cut it this way from that end. So make sure you look at that because it is different. Usually they always have two different grain patterns, but sometimes it's more of one way or the other. So just make sure you kind of pay attention to that before you put it on. So I'm just going to lightly sprinkle olive oil, just enough to get the seasoning to stick. And like I said, I made this rub just this morning. So I think about making your own, especially like SPG, you can control your own salt. Some people are more sensitive to others. This one just has to be equal parts of everything except for the cayenne. It was only half of it.
You're generously seasoning it and then patting it in.
Yep. So I think it's a little different than a brisket. Because a brisket, you definitely want that hard crust. So you probably be a little more liberal with the seasoning. Also, a brisket is a lot bigger piece of meat, so it can take the flavoring more. It's definitely as big as a brisket. So you definitely want the flavor, but you don't want to overpower it. You spent the good money for the Prime, so you definitely want to be able to taste the meat and the smokiness when you're done. And like I said, I'm going to put it on the smoker now. The smoker is about 250 degrees. It'll probably take an hour for it to, get to around 115, 120 internal temperature. And but again, there's other ways to cook it. In Santa Maria, they use a hot flame over a grill. Using the California oak. And you would just keep turning it so it doesn't char on one side. And again, you get to about 130. If you don't have you can do it indirect. If you have a gas grill, you can even do it in the oven and then put on a frying pan to sear. So There's many ways to cook it. We're just going to do the reverse sear method this time because it is my favorite. Yeah, it's my favorite, so we'll do that. So I'm going to take this out, get it on the smoker, and then we'll wait an hour, and I'll show you guys when it's time to sear.
So do you do any seasoning on the sides of the meat?
You can. Again,
Or because it's prime, you want the meat flavor?
Yeah, I'm not. If this was a brisket, I would really do it. You know what I mean? I even season my steak more. It comes out so tender. And also, we're going to put a chimichurri sauce on it.
Oh.
I'm not worried about overwhelming it with salt and pepper, right? I'm very salt sensitive. Most of the time, I don't even put as much salt as I did on this. I put more pepper and garlic. But for this show, I thought I would try equal parts. It just depends how you want. That's the nice thing about it. Is your brisket, is your tri-tip. You do whatever you want with it. I've come to find that I like a little less seasoning and enjoy the smoke of the meat and the flavor of the meat. So
yeah, so your recommendation is start with a little bit of seasoning and then do it a couple times and make it your own.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Exactly, because it's all about experimenting. That's the whole reason why we cook. It's just to experiment and see what you like. I probably made this 24 times, and every time's probably been slightly different. To be honest with you, right? And I mean, most of the time it is a reverse sear, but I try some little ingredients. And honestly, when I first started, I would put tons of seasoning on it. When I did my briskets, when I did tri-tip, when I did my steak, and then as I kind of got, I don't know, refined as the taste, I really enjoy the meat taste more as opposed to the seasoning taste, right? So again, it's whatever you prefer. So I used to overdo it on the seasoning. Now I kind of cut back.
Well, and I agree with you. I think people really do tend to over-season meat, and it loses something when you do that.
Right.
So I love this.
And, Jen, my wife, is very sensitive to salt too. So again, I try to watch that on her because I have cooked stuff where she's like, yeah, it's great. We tried to, for example, she puts too much salt on it. So I've just learned to cut back what we both like. And you got to kind of figure out, right? It's all about experimenting and figuring out what it is you like. And so like I said, I lightly season it. I mean, you can smell the garlic, I'm sure. Obviously, the people watching on TV can't, but you can definitely smell the garlic powder in here and the onion powder a little bit.
Yeah.
And you can see the pepper. So I think it'll be good. And like I said, we'll put a chimichurri sauce on it, and it will be amazing. So I'm taking it out to the smoker, and then we'll catch it back after the smoking part is done, and we'll show you the reverse sear. All right, put it on smoker, probably be an hour and 10 minutes. I'll come out in a few more minutes, actually put an internal probe into it so I can watch the temperature from inside. And then we'll show you when I take it off and sear it. So the tri-tip is in the smoker. It's going to stay there for the next hour. What we're going to do now is make a chimichurri sauce for it. And to start, what I did is I got about a half a cup, maybe slightly more than half a cup of parsley. And as you can see, I took scissors to it and just cut off the leaves. I don't want many of the stems. And then I just chop it off the knife. Some people will put this like in a blender and chop it up. I like the texture of it. I like to have a little more leaf to it than if you actually blend it up. But again, it's your choice what you want to do. And then first thing I'm going to add is a half a cup of olive oil. And I got 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar in here. And we'll just dump that in. I have a half of a red jalapeno. I took the seeds and the vein out. So just 1/2, just to give it a little kick. Obviously, if you like a little more heat to it, you can add more. Or you can leave it out if you want. I've actually, these have been out of season, because we live in Utah, so some things do get out of season. I've just used crushed red pepper flakes to use it as a substitute too, just getting a little bit of heat. I have 4 cloves of garlic that I minced, and you just add that in there. I've actually used the minced garlic in the jar before, and that works pretty good too, but we usually use fresh around here. And then I have about 3/4 of a tablespoon of dried oregano. And then I'm just going to throw a pinch of salt and a few turns of pepper. Okay, maybe more than a few. And And then that's it. I mean, you can smell the garlic. You can smell all the peppers.
Yeah.
So, and you just give it a good stir. I'm just using a fork. You know, if you use a bigger bowl, you can probably stir a little more vigorously.
And you could use this on all kinds of meats,
Exactly.
right?
You can use it on chicken, fish. I never had chimichurri sauce until I went to Central Coast, California, and I fell in love with it. Like I said, they put it on tri-tip, but you can use it on everything. You know, California, they may actually throw some avocado in here and have avocado chimichurri, which is really good. You know, it's almost like pesto. You put almost just about anything. I will have leftovers, and probably tomorrow with the leftovers, with the tri-tip, I will have like a tri-tip burrito, and I'll have, you know, scrambled eggs, tri-tip, cheese, and some of this on there, and that'll be my breakfast. So.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Try to get this done. You definitely want this to sit in the refrigerator for an hour to let it kind of all the flavors meld. But like I said, even right now, it is ready to go if you wanted it. So like I said, we'll give it another half hour or so, probably on the tri-tip, and then we'll start the reverse sear. So we pulled the tri-tip off of the smoker. I removed the deflector down there, as you can see, and I have a direct heat. So currently the skillet, it's about 650 degrees. It's probably a little hotter than you want it, but it will make it work this time. I've sprayed some duck fat. You can use any type of fat you want. You know, avocado oil works good. I would definitely stay away from olive oil because of the smoke point. But I use duck fat. I'm gonna give it a little spray real fast. And then we're gonna put the tri-tip on.
I hear duck fat adds a real flavor though.
Yeah, I really like it. A chef told me that, and I tried it, and I was like, yeah, I've been a fan of it.
And listen to that sizzle. It sounds like we're having a party over here.
It's the sound of flavor right there. So we're gonna leave that only on for about 1 minute. So we're nearing the 1.5 minute mark. You can hear it sizzling still. And give it another 20 seconds and we'll flip it. So I use a flat cast iron. You could use the grater if you want the grill marks. But I like the overall sear, the flat sear. Again, that's preference. So it doesn't have this pretty look like you would see at a competition or something, but I think the flavor is better. So we're at 1.5 minutes even. I'm gonna give it a quick flip.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that.
That is just gorgeous.
Then we'll let it go about another minute, and I'll probe it for temperature. I'm looking for about 130 in the center. And then when it gets 130, we'll take it off.
And 130 makes it what?
I like a medium rare. All right, it's been almost 1.5 minutes. I'm gonna take a temperature. All right, it's pretty close to where you want it. We'll give it another 30 seconds or so.
And you want to make sure that you're taking the temperature more towards the middle, right?
Correct. And since this tri-tip was long and gets narrow at the end, there will be more done over here, and then so it could actually feed every case. All right. Okay, so we're gonna take this inside, and don't shortcut this step. I know you want to cut it with a knife and dive in. At least let it rest for at least 20 minutes. We're going to just put foil loosely on top of it and let those juices get soaked back into the meat. Like I said, be patient with it. I'd say at least 20 minutes till you can dig into it. So we got a tri-tip off the smoker. We reverse seared it. It's got a nice little crust to it. It's been resting for about 20 minutes, and I'm ready to dig into it. So as you still see on this one, the grain's going this way. So we're going to cut opposite of that. And then the grain on this one's going this way, so we'll start cutting this way.
I have to tell you, it was so hard to wait 20 minutes while this meat rested.
And I'm just going for about 1/4 inch pieces here. I mean, look how juicy that is.
Oh my gosh. This just absolutely looks and smells amazing.
Yes, it does. You can see the juices.
And you know, I know the whole concept is to be able to use what you have, and you can definitely cook this in the oven, right? Like you were saying.
Definitely, yep.
But the smell from the smoker, you're just not going to get that in the oven. Just a beautiful color inside too, AJ. That's just gorgeous.
Yeah, there's your nice and red.
So, and again, that's kind of the advantage of making sure that you have the right tools. So it's worth investing in a good meat thermometer.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I'd say, you know, good meat thermometer, good knives. I think they're all must for the kitchen. So,
Yeah, yeah.
So you see, as we get more in the center, it gets more and more rare. I'm probably more on this area here. That one is pretty rare, but some people like it that way. And then, of course, the chimichurri sauce.
Oh, that's going to be gorgeous on top and taste so good. Mmm. Oh.
We got a dog here that wants to taste.
Yeah. Sorry, Mr. Bimo.
And then let's sprinkle some salt flakes on it.
Now, if that doesn't just say, come to the dinner table.
That's right. And like I said, I was about 30 years old when I first tried this. I went 30 years without having this, and it's such a good treat. Let's take a bite of this, and like I said, we got the chimichurri on it, the salt flakes, and the smoke.
Oh, I'm so excited. My stomach's growling.
Yeah, mine too.
Mmm. Mmm.
Isn't that amazing?
It's so good.
So, I love like a ribeye or an ear strip on you know, reverse sear, but man, tri-tip every time I have it with a chimichurri, it's like this is it. You know, it's being in Utah, it's hard to get tri-tip in any restaurant, I think, so you have to pretty much cook it yourself. But you know, whenever I eat this, I'm like, oh, this is a $30 or $40 meal somewhere.
Oh yeah.
So,
well worth it.
anyway, we're going to sign off and eat our tri-tip and chimichurri. I'm on another piece here, but thanks for joining us. Again, you know, subscribe and hit the bell if you want more notifications when we put more out. We'll be putting stuff out every Thursday. And like I said, the menu varies. So, you know, please keep checking back, and you know, we'll keep providing good recipes like this. Thank you.
Bye.
All right.